So today's class is managing your database. We're going to be focusing on using commands to do that because that's the program that most of us use. Stacy, I know you guys don't use command. You use contextually, right? But the idea, the concepts are going to be the same. You just have to apply it within your own platform. And the idea behind managing your database at the highest level is getting referrals, right? As well as getting your database to hire you. So you want to kind of be in connection with them and nurturing your relationships. And there's a couple of different ways to do that. The main one is obviously having everybody in your database first and foremost, so that you have a system, a way to connect with them quickly and efficiently and automatically if you can, to make it automated. And then the second is to have a schedule for the year, so you know when you're supposed to be doing things and what that looks like. So some of you might have heard of what we call a Touch 33 or a Touch 36 program. Some of you might not have heard of it yet, but basically what that Touch 36 plan is the way that you're going to connect with your database 36 times a year over the course of the months. So the reason that it's called a Touch 36 is because Keller Williams, as you guys know, does a ton of research. They do like testing on all of this stuff. They do marketing testing. They do surveys. And what they've figured out is that in order for you to generate the most business from your database effectively, it means that it takes 36 touches. Used to be 33, but as we've gotten more technology based, it's relationships got a little more distant. We have to work a little harder. Now the touches don't have to all be phone calls and they don't all have to be in person. That's not what we're saying, but they need to be seeing your name. They need to be hearing from you at least that 36 times a year. That's what the market stats are telling us. If you hit those numbers, your return on your database should be 12 to 1. Okay, so what I mean by that is for every 12 people in your database, this is what the stats tell us. For every 12 people, you will get either a deal or a referral from one person if you actively connect with your database 36 times a year or more. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that they get 36 emails from you either. So we have to have that conversation. There are different ways to communicate with your database, and it needs to be a mix of all of those different things. So for example, in person is it is the most powerful way to connect with somebody. Obviously with COVID, we've had our challenges with getting face to face. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't jump on a Zoom call, that you can't go and knock on their door and say hello if you're in the neighborhood. We're not quite able to kind of do dinners and things like that as consistently as we would have done in previous years, right? But you have to figure out ways at some point to get in person with these people. Now, luckily our database, and we're going to start with who comprises our database, it's usually made up of people we already know. Right? We have our leads. That's a different category. Leads are kind of like people we don't know, or what is referred to as our haven't met. They're not in our sphere. They're not our core group. We don't apply a Touch 36 to them. They don't know us. They don't trust us necessarily. We're probably not going to get referrals from them. We're trying to convert them into business, into clients, and then they'll go into our database or our sphere, right? When we're talking about our sphere and who the Touch 36 applies to, we're talking about our friends, our family, our coworkers and colleagues, our past clients, people we know through the community, whatever that looks like. So it's people that know you, like you, and hopefully trust you, right? Now, you might not know them well enough yet to have them fully trust you, and that's fine. That's why we can cultivate our relationships. So when we're always talking about nurture relationships, cultivate your relationships, that's database management. That's what that is, right? You got to talk to people. You have to engage with people. You have to relate to people at a high level. They have to like you. They have to recognize that you're a realtor. They need to understand that that's your business, that you want to help them, that you're coming from contribution. That's how you get business from your database. right? So when we talk about that 12-to-1 ratio of if you, for every 12 people in your database, you should get one transaction or referral, you have to be working your database at the highest level for those results to work. So what that means, like I said, is in person, on the phone, electronic. Okay, those are your three elements. So you have to have a combination, and hard mail as well, believe it or not, those cards that we mail out, right? That thank you card, that happy birthday card, that happy holidays card, those are effective, right? If you have a great conversation, if I'm working through my calls and I call Michelle, and Michelle and I have a great chat, and I haven't talked to her in a few months, and I send her a card saying, Michelle, I thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time. I can't wait to connect again. That's going to be a highly effective reaction from Michelle. That's going to be almost an emotional reaction, because she's going to feel, wow, I felt the same way. We had a great connection, and now our relationship is enhanced, right? That's how you manage your database. So what we're going to look at today is the Touch 36 outline, an example of what one looks like, so you guys can get a visual of that. And then we're going to talk about how to integrate those steps into your command system or into a database so that a lot of it can be automated, right? Because we don't want to spend a whole ton of time on this, because we have to do everything else. We have to lead generate and show properties and write offers and go to listing appointments and, you know, the 80 other jobs we do every single day. So we don't want to spend the majority of our time here, but we need to make sure what we are doing is effective and purposeful. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I'm going to show you an example of a Touch 36 that I've used in the past. It's always been pretty effective. I've always liked it. Don't copy this verbatim. I mean, actually you could, in fairness, if you'd like to. If you don't want to like think about it, go for it. It's in your resources folder. However, what I would recommend is personalize it yourself. Make it your own. It should reflect your personality, your type of relationships that you have with your database. And going back to the beginning, just to cover this again one more time, your database that I'm talking about, it's not your leads. It's not the people that you don't know. It's your sphere, your core group, your friends, your family, your coworkers, your past clients, people in your community, in the different areas of your life that you spend time, right? They should know you, like you, and hopefully trust you, or at least you have the ability to earn that trust, right? It's not someone that you don't know. That's different. Those are for the people that we don't know. For our leads, that's lead management. That's drip campaigns and quarterly calls. And that's something different. We have a different system for that. So this is going to apply specifically, like I said, to that core group of people. Now, the sweet spot for your core group of people is actually 216. That's what they say. So based on those stats, right? We talked about how Keller Williams does all that research. This is why they do it, so they can tell us these things. If you have about 216, and you're not going to get there right away, it takes time to develop that, right? You have to kind of work at it and cultivate those relationships. But if you have that many people in your database, that 12-to-1 ratio will be more accurate. Which means if you have 216 people, for every 12, if you're running a high level relationship focused business, you should be getting a referral or a listing or a buyer lead or deal, which means in theory, you would get around 32 deals out of your database annually, right? Our average commission right now is what, about 20,000, 18 to 20,000, and do the math on that real quick, right? 32 times, let's call it 15. Let's even round down. That's a pretty good year. You don't really have to do, and some agents, this is their entire business model. This is all they do, but they do it at an extremely high level, and they run great businesses based on it, right? Now, I'm not saying just do this. To be honest with you, I think you need to do both. You still need to lead generate. You need to add people to your database as well, because databases change. People get their license, people move away. Someone's mom, sister, brother, uncle, aunt, cousin, whatever, gets their license. There's so many realtors, right? So, you know, our database numbers are going to fluctuate, but every time we do a deal, that client should be added to this system. So you should have a system outline that's going to give you the exact steps. So this is an example of a system that I used to use. And it was highly effective. It kept me in touch. It's strategic, and I'm going to explain to you the timeline of it and why it's built the way it is so that you can understand the strategy behind it as well as just what the steps are. Now, everywhere you see where it says TP, that means top producer, because this was pre-command and I used to use top producer. That's just an automated email, like a monthly nurture, neighborhood nurture email, or a newsletter that you're creating or whatever that looks like. I think in Contactually, Stacy, if I'm not mistaken, they have pre-made auto emails that you can just apply someone to a campaign and it just auto sends. So you would just do that. But here's what it looks like in January, the obvious one, Happy New Year, right? But most people just send out a blanket email for that. They just send out this email that just says, Happy New Year. Everyone gets the same one, or they post it on their social media. And I don't know about you guys, but I get like 30 of those emails every January from different, it's like the turn back the clocks and turn the clock forward. I get 30 to 40 of those every time too. So the good thing is I never forget to do it. The bad thing is that it's generic and it has zero impact on me because it's just an auto thing. So for the Happy New Year, depending on your timing or what your availability is, I traditionally found that time of year is pretty quiet. So I used to call my database a couple of days after. I didn't call them on New Year's Day because, for multiple reasons, they might not have been feeling too great, or they were tired, or they were kind of adjusting from the holidays. But, that first to second week of January, I was making my calls. Hey, how are you? Happy New Year. Hope things are going well. How were your holidays? Did you have a nice time? What did you do? Just relationship conversation. I'm not asking them for business on this phone call. I'm just calling to connect. It's personal. And then, for those that I didn't get a hold of, I would just send a text message. So I'd call. If I didn't get them, I would just fire them off a text instead of leaving a voicemail, right? Because we also know, guys, people don't listen to their voicemails anymore, right? Not the same way that they used to. So before I would have left a voicemail, now I would probably just fire them a text message and say, hey, sorry, I missed you on the phone. Just wanted to call and say Happy New Year. I hope all is well. Love to catch up with you soon, right? Something simple like that. It's a touch point. It's a connection piece. The next thing is an email, check-in email. This can be a couple of different things, and it varied for me over the years. Some years I actually just sent them an email with kind of like, hey, it's the beginning of the year. Here's what happened in the last year in the real estate market in your neighborhood. Just wanted to keep you up to date. Hope all is well. And some years I just did this check-in. Do you have any plans this year for real estate? Right? Pretty straightforward email. Are you thinking about refinancing or moving, buying an income property? I'd love to chat with you about it. So that was an email, a pre-made templated email that was in my database, and it just got sent out. I didn't write it for everybody. It just automatically went, right? Then what I would do is a CMA letter. And that was just offering my clients, and I would hard mail this because you remember we're trying to mix everything up, and I would hard mail it to offer them a free home analysis. Do you want to know what your home is worth? So depending on what the email was, if I was giving them a neighborhood update, I didn't send the CMA letter, right? If I was just sending hey, any real estate plans for the year, I did send a CMA letter to say, hey, just wanted to check in and let you know that we're offering free home evaluations for all of our clients. Thanks so much for your continued support. Let me know if you're interested. And then they would call us or text us, right? And say, hey, yeah, I'd love to know what my home is worth. That was just a way for us to get them to raise their hand and go, hey, maybe I am thinking about it. Most of the time they were just curious because the market changes from year to year, but it's still an effective touch. What's even more effective is actually just merging those two steps. I know it eliminates a step, but because of social media and that it's easy to replace steps, right? So merge those two together and just send them a CMA of their property. Now, I'm not talking about a super detailed, specific CMA of their particular home. I'm talking about, Stacy lives in Stonehaven and Newmarket. I don't actually know if you do, Stacy. I'm just throwing that out there. But let's say you did. I would just say like, hey, here's what's happened in Stonehaven over the past year. Detached homes have increased by 30%, semis by this much, towns by this much, right? And I would just give them an overview of the stats. So I would just create different reports for different pockets, depending on where my clients lived. And then I would send them to all the appropriate clients. So I'm not kind of looking and going, hey, I need a 4-bedroom detached on a 30 by 80. Like, I'm not doing that, right? Yeah, Stacy, you had a question.
I think, well, you just touched on it there, being just a general overview and just pulling stats, just like I would on Treb, right, by community,
Yeah.
making it, customizing it.
Yeah, yeah. Customizing it into an email body. And then I would just go through my database and go, okay, who's everyone that lives in Stonehaven? Great, I'm just going to BCC them all on the same email. And then who's everybody that lives in Bayview Village? Who's everybody that lives in Summerhill? And then I would just go through my database and go, okay, these are my neighborhoods. Here's my report. And then I would send it. Because what happens is for most of them, that's enough. That's great information. Like, oh, this is amazing. My area went up by 20% last year. I love it. They can do the math on their home value from there, right? But for the people that are thinking about maybe making a move, they might reach out. That can trigger that conversation to go, hey, that's awesome. Can you tell me specifically what a 4-bed detached home is worth? Absolutely. I know you did some renos. Why don't I come over and see the house first? I can give you a more accurate analysis. Right now, we're trying to convert it into the next steps, but it's just ways to get them to raise their hand. But we're also coming from contribution and value and saying, I know you didn't ask for this, but I also know as homeowners, we like to know what's going on in the market and we like to know what our home is worth. So yeah, I'd love to get that email to say, hey, your home appreciated 20% last year. Not bad, right? And on the years that it's down, you send it then too, because they need to know that as well, right? We always going to give them the updated information. So over time, I actually merged those two into one, that CMA letter and that email into one CMA email. And I would just send it. I found it faster, more efficient, and I still got the same result. And then of course you'd have your monthly newsletter that goes out. It's automated, goes through Command or Contactually or TP or MailChimp or whatever system you want to use. And it's just like a prefab home ownership newsletter, right? You can pay companies to do it. You can make your own. You can use the prefab ones that exist in a lot of those programs. That's totally up to you, but you should have something that's just that added extra touch, right? So it's either getting hard mail to them or it's an email that they're getting with the information in it that they can just open it up and take a look. So if you'll notice in here, like that's quite a few touches in January, and you're going to see that February is the same. There's quite a lot that happens in those 2 months, and there's strategy behind that. I want to know from December through February who's going to list with me or hire me for my spring market, right? So you'll see when we get to December, there's a few things in December as well. It's holiday season. It's really easy to kind of take advantage of that. But I'm also setting up my pipeline for the year. So I want to hit people in December, January, and February a little more often because I want to know who's thinking about selling or who's thinking about buying in my database. So strategically, by doing more in those months, it also happens to work out that those months tend to be a little bit quieter traditionally than spring and fall, like the spring months and the fall months. If I put a little more time in when I have extra time, it's more efficient for me. I'm not trying to do it when I'm slammed running around with buyers and listings, but I'm also strategically doing it in order to get those guys to raise their hand so that by the springtime, I know who in my database is making a move. Because most people traditionally will wait till March, April, May to do something. We've seen that change a little bit over the last year or two, right? And for those of you guys that are newer, this might sound weird to you because if you've only experienced our market so far this year, that doesn't probably line up with what you experienced because January, February were absolutely bananas this year. That's not normal. That was a reaction to COVID. This year so far, we've trended back to like the second half of this year so far, we've trended back to a more normal pattern where August got a little quieter. As you guys noticed, inventory slowed down. Some buyers kind of took their foot off the gas. And once everyone's back in school next week, you'll start to see that market pick up. More listings will come out. Buyers will start to want to shop a little bit more. That's a more traditional market. And then once we get to December-ish and November, December, you'll start to see that inventory slow down again and things like that. And there's always elements that affect the market. Elections are one, and I know we have one coming up right now, right? And then, obviously COVID and what's going to happen with school and everything like that is going to play a part in what the rest of this year looks like. but that is a more traditional market. So we adapt when the market changes, but normally that's our pattern. It follows the school cycles. That's all you really need to know. When kids are in school, the market's a little stronger. When kids are out of school, the market's a little quieter because people are focused elsewhere, right? That's kind of the general gist of how the GTA market works. So January, February, we're going to do a lot more. So in February, you're going to see, this should be a call. this D got, the rest of it got deleted. It's just a database call or a database check-in. So those people you didn't get a hold of in January, try again in February. Give them a call and reach out. Hey, just calling to reach out. Did you get my email? What do you think? Isn't that crazy? Houses have gone up so much. Can you believe that's what your home is worth? How are you? Right? Simple conversations. We're not really asking for business yet here. When we're talking to our database, when we're talking to people we're in relationship, we want them to know that we want their business, but we're not kind of calling all the time to ask them for business because they would just stop answering our phone calls, right? And I mean, fair enough. So they should, if that's the only reason we're calling them. So this is a passive way, and that's the point of a Touch 36. It's a passive relationship building tool. This is a passive way to kind of keep top of mind, remind them that we're realtors, and also engage and connect at a higher level. So you have, again, your database calls in February, and that's just the people you didn't connect with in January or December. So we're trying to make sure that we're getting in touch with everybody if we can. You're not going to hit everybody, but you'll get majority of them by that second call. You will, or they'll get back to you. When they see they have another missed call, then they'll call you back. And what I used to do when I was more active and I was running this system is I would do tickets to the home show, the Spring Gardens, Home and Gardens show in Toronto. And so I would mail out a letter to my database in February saying, you know, it said, I'll show you the letter in a second. It said, it's that time of year again. Thanks so much for supporting myself and my business on behalf of, you know, the referral team, which is the team I used to be on, or the Silvernagel team now. We've taken the liberty of buying tickets for your home, for your family to the Home and Garden show. If you're interested, give us a call or send us a message and we'll make sure those tickets get to you, right? So we always allowed for, you know, if I had about 200 people in my database, I would need to buy 40 to 50 tickets. That was how that ratio worked out. It didn't cost a whole lot, couple $100, but people liked it. They were really into it and it was effective, and it got me in touch with those people again. And again, I was coming from value, right? Here's something I'm doing for you out of gratitude. Then what I would do is I would send the letter, and then about almost 10 days later, I would call around the letter to say, hey, just wanted to check in, see if you got my letter. Are you interested in the tickets for the home show? Because sometimes people forget to get back to you, or, you know, they meant to message and they didn't. And oftentimes they're not interested, but thanks so much for thinking of us. That's great. How are you? Right. So again, we're re-engaging. And then the next step was there's always an automated email that's going out from my system. So you're going to see that here. And then at the beginning of March, about a week before the show, I would go and drop the tickets off in person to the people that requested them. So I would knock on the door. I would have them in an envelope or a card. I'd have a nice little note with it. If they were home, I'd get that face to face and I'd chat with them. If they weren't home, I would leave it. I'd write on the thing, sorry, I missed you. Would love to catch up soon. Hope all is well. And I would leave it at their door. Right. So they were getting that extra touch, that extra reach out for me to kind of cultivate that relationship. So that was kind of my way, and the strategic way of hitting them 9 times between January and the beginning of March without it being me calling them all the time, right? So if they're thinking of doing something and they've heard from me 9 different times in 9 different ways, do you think they're going to think of me as a realtor if they're ready to buy or sell? That's the point, because you're going to notice from March through to June, it gets quiet. It's a lot more automated because I'm busy with clients now. So I don't have time to do all this other stuff. So now I'm going to go email ticket, drop off the tickets, email for like 2 months. All they're getting is 2 emails a month after that, for that window of time when I don't have time to do this stuff. So it's strategic for me and it's strategic for them. And then you'll notice in June 15th, school's getting close to the end, market's starting to shift a little bit. Now I'm going to start making those calls again. How's it going? What are your plans for the summer? Right? Traditionally, there were years when we would do like a summer get together, a barbecue, a party, and I'd be calling to invite them to that. Depends on the year, but that's the purpose of it. And then it would get a little kind of calm for the summer months because our markets slowed down. So they're getting their emails and their newsletters and all that. By September, it's picking back up. Now I'm going to be, again, a little more strategic. So what I used to do in September was send out, I did one of a kind tickets as well. So I did tickets quite twice a year. It cost me about $1,000 a year overall to do it. And I had clients that would text me before I'd even get these emails or letters mailed saying like, hey, are you doing those tickets again this year? Because they liked them. They wanted to get them. Now we do fall leaf bags and things like that. You can do whatever you want, right? It can be a pie giveaway for Thanksgiving. It can be flowers or seeds for the garden in the summer. It can be absolutely anything. You just have to think about what would your clients get value from? What would they enjoy? Over the years, this one of a kind show ticket morphed into one of a kind show or the Christmas market in the distillery district. I would offer tickets to both because a lot of my clients had young kids and they would like to go and see, Santa and the elves and do that whole thing. It was like $6 a person. So it was actually cheaper than the one of a kind show as well. So that saved me a little money, but I would do the same process. I would send them the letter. Then I would call them to say, hey, did you get my letter? Then I would hand deliver to whoever wanted the tickets. And everyone else was at least getting that phone call from me and they were getting the letter from me, right? So they were still hearing from me on a regular basis. And then I let the automated process do the rest. And then we get to the holiday time and you see it starts to pick up again. I dropped off the tickets, the email went out, the email goes out, the newsletter goes out. Then I would do the holiday card and gift drop off for my kind of core group. My top 20 to 30 people that worked with me that year would get a gift. If they gave me a referral or they worked with me, I would give them a gift at the holiday time. And everyone else got a card and a calendar and a little package dropped at their door, but we didn't spend as much money on that. And then they would get, their monthly newsletter, and then we'd start right back in January, Happy New Year call, right? So you can see the pattern of it, right? It kind of makes sense with the strategy of why we did things when we did. And this was why. If you run this at a high level, and I will tell you guys that it could be way better than this. You know what I mean? Like this worked and it was fine, but it could be more, it could be bigger. Like people do client appreciation events. They do like summer parties, winter parties. Some people I know, like they invite their core group, that top 20 or 30 people, they have them over for dinner at their house. They invite groups of people, they take people out to dinner. Like you could really escalate this as your budget grows to really kind of only have this be your main method of lead generation. But if you want to get business from it, you have to invest in it. So you have to have a budget. It can't just be emails and text messages and, one or two things throughout the year. It would have to be significantly larger. I liked this because I still lead generated. So it gave me time to do both, right? And it also gave me time to write my deals, get my listings ready, and provide a high level of service. So when you're talking about database management, you want to have a plan, right? We don't wake up and go, how can I impact my database today? At the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, really, when we're building out our plans, this is part of our plan. What am I going to do next year? And when am I doing it? And then it goes in your calendar. So you can be efficient about it. Because what happens when we leave things last minute is we scramble and everything else gets put on the back burner while we try to get that one thing done. Because like, oh my God, I need to connect with my database. Okay, what can I do? And then you spend a week running around trying to figure that out. You don't do your lead gen and you don't follow up with the people you need to follow up with. And then that falls off because it's not planned, it's not purposeful, right? I will tell you though, it sounds easy to say, it is hard to do, right? You have to be disciplined. You have to follow your schedule. You have to kind of really get the hang of it, or you have an admin that runs this system for you. That's the beauty of leverage. When you make enough money, you don't have to do all this stuff. Your admin does it. All you're doing is the phone calls and the text messages, right? However, at the beginning, or when we're not at that production level, we can't afford that admin, we're everybody. So we're doing this job as well. So that's why having an outline, like I had it down to the date, right? I knew on what day things were going out. All those emails, they were pre-planned. The system just sent them. I never even thought about those. They just went. And to be honest with you, I mean this in the best way possible. I wasn't too concerned with what was in them. I didn't spend time stressing over them being perfect or what the data was. I just made sure the content was valuable. And then then it just went. That was my biggest thought process in regard to those, because I didn't have time to worry about that. And most of the people didn't open them, right? You get, like, on average, you're going to get about a 20 to 30% open rate on emails. So I was more concerned with them seeing my name in their inbox and real estate information as in the title than what was actually in the actual email, because I knew that a lot of them weren't going to read it. So oftentimes agents will make that mistake. They'll spend too much time trying to get the content perfect, and then they lose time on all the other items that are more priority than that, right? So don't stress about that stuff. In Command, I'm going to show you this, but in Command and in programs like Contactually and Top Producer and any of those other systems we use, they have pre-made emails that you can just use and send out, right? So don't spend time creating that content. I'm going to stop there for a second, see if anyone has any questions, but that's basically what a touch 33, 36 is. This is what it was 33. So you'll have to come up with 3 more touches. But this, and those can be text messages, guys. Just sprinkle some text messages in throughout the year and you're good, right? On top of all of this, it's also social media. If you're doing social media posts and engagement posts, that can count as well, but it has to be purposely directed to the people that you're trying to hit. So whoever's in your database, who's in your sphere, they need to be on your social media if you're going to count your social media, or else they're not going to see it, right? And you need to be engaging with them to make sure they see your content. So it gets a little trickier. This is a little easier to manage than accounting for social media. That can just be buffer. That can be extra, right? But you could direct message somebody on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, send them a message, or LinkedIn, right? And just kind of connect that way as well, for sure. That could count. That would count as a touch if you were able to do that. So any questions about that? You guys good? Okay. I'm going to flip over to, actually, before I do that, if you're in your in resources folder, there's in the command and database setup, there's a folder called Touch 33. And in there, you'll see that there's like the yearly CMA letter, the ticket request list, the ticket thank you letter. So some of the stuff that I used to send out, that content is in there for you. Don't recreate the wheel, guys. Just use what's there, please. Stevie's Touch 33 that her and I worked on when she was in coaching, that's in here as well. So you can see that as an example. It's a variation of what I just showed you, but it gives you stuff to jump off of. So you don't have to start at the very, very beginning. So in resources, command and database setup, Touch 33 campaign. That's where you're going to find that. Okay. Beyond that, let's jump into command, because this is the next step. Okay. How do I automate this stuff? Right. So that's great that we're supposed to do that, but how do I do it? Now there's always tons of Scott Leroy videos, but I'm going to try and show you guys essentially how to do it within this system. I'm not doing an intro to command here. So if you're not sure some of the steps, you can ask us later or watch those videos back. But basically what you're going to do first and foremost is obviously make sure everybody who's in your sphere is in your database, right? So when you look at your database, is everybody that you can think of in here? Everybody that should be in here, all those relationships. And then are they tagged appropriately? Do you have them tagged as sphere? Do you have them tagged as family, friends, past colleagues, all that sort of stuff, so that you can be strategic with what you're sending and who you're sending it to? Because tags are how we search in command, right? So the more we tag somebody, the better. My account is mainly just everybody in coaching. So you're just going to see a lot of coaching tags, but when you look at our team database, then everybody's tagged as buyers, as sellers, as family, as friends, as sphere, but you want your main blanket to be sphere or core, depending on what you want to call it, core group or sphere. So make sure that you have everyone in here, make sure they're all tagged. That's where we start. Then what we're going to do is go in and apply smart plans to them to kind of make our lives a little easier. So the beauty of command is that there's a ton of smart plans we can choose from, and we can do a bulk update. We can add everybody to smart plan at the same time. So it saves us a ton of time. So what I can do here is basically, if I take this page and I just click, see this box at the top, I click on all of the people on this page. all of a sudden this box shows up and it says select bulk action. If I click on that, I can just scroll down and go add to smart plan. Okay. So if I go add to smart plan, then it's going to show me the list of smart plans I have in my system right now that I've activated. And so I can go here and I can go, you know what? I just want to put everybody on a monthly nurture, a monthly newsletter campaign, smart plan, right? If I don't see what I'm looking for, I can just type it in monthly. There we go, monthly neighborhood. Every month they're going to get an email from me about the stats of their neighborhood. Okay, now you have to make sure that they're set up on their neighborhood in their contact before this will work. So I'm going to step back a quick second and show you how to do that quickly. So let's say I open up, let's see here, whatever, let's just do Adam. See how I don't have him, I don't have a neighborhood for him. So see how it says add neighborhood and there's nothing here. If I don't have a neighborhood for him, that monthly neighborhood nurture email, it's not going to get sent, right? Because there's no information. So I have him in here. I have his contact info. That's all great, but I need to add a neighborhood. Now I don't know exactly where Adam lives, but I know he's up in Wyerton in that area. That's not what I want. Wyerton, Ontario. Let's see if that works. No, so let's try Tobermory. No, sometimes you can't find it. So this is good. I'm glad we had this happen. I'm going to click find on map because when I type it in, it's not showing up. So now what I can do is just go to this map, come over to where we are, and I can just kind of zoom in using this little plus sign. And I know that he's up here, so I'm just going to keep zooming in on that pocket. Right? Not every area exists on the Keller Williams map yet. So sometimes we don't have, see how this has this green pocket around it? That's a neighborhood, but the rest of it really doesn't, right? It's all just white. So we have to figure out how to get that information, or sometimes we just can't apply it to that contact. So we'd have to do the research ourselves or send them something different, right? The easiest answer is send them something different. Just don't send them this if it doesn't work. So for some reason, this area hasn't yet been set up as a neighborhood. I don't know why. But let's say he lived in Owen Sound. Let's select Owen Sound. And then I'm just going to hit save. Okay. Now it's going to add him to an Owen Sound neighborhood. So when I set up that monthly neighborhood nurture, now he's going to get information on Owen Sound. What got listed, what sold, what the stats are, average days on market, all that sort of stuff. And it's an interactive email. It looks quite nice. So he can click on it. He can look at the stats. He can look at the listings, and the system will tell you if he opened it or not on the right-hand side over here. So it'll say received the email and it'll show if they opened it. And then, make sure you're putting in as much information as you can. But that's one of the steps when you're setting up your database and you're running a Touch 33 system, or you're managing your database effectively. You have to have this information in here. If you just have a phone number and an email, it's not going to get you very far when it comes to getting something from your database, right? So make sure you have them set up on neighborhoods. If you don't know where they live, what a great reason to call them or text them or send them a DM. Right? Hey, just updating my database. I realize I don't have your home address. From time to time, I like to send out gift cards and do giveaways. I'd hate for you to miss out on it. What's the best address to send these things to? Right? Simple script. They're probably going to tell you A, because they like you, B, because they want whatever you're giving away, and C, because why wouldn't they? Right? Why wouldn't they give you your info? Now, if for some reason you can't get a hold of somebody, you can search on Geo Warehouse. You can search by their name. That's a quick way to figure it out as well, right? Or if you have mutual friends, you could ask somebody, but always try and get them to give you the information. If they don't like you enough or trust you enough or know you enough to tell you where they live, they probably shouldn't be in this group. Okay, that's a pretty good indicator that you don't have a good enough relationship with them yet. So you can work on nurturing it and get them to that level, but they're not going to get everything you send them here. You can still give them the phone calls. You can still send them the offer them the home show tickets and things like that. And at some point along the way, you're going to need their home address for something. And you're going to call them and say, hey, I'm just mailing those tickets to you. Where should I send them? And then boom, you've got your home address, right? So eventually it will come. Don't stress if you don't have it. But if you have people in here and you don't know where they live and you're not that close to them, and they're not willing to give you that information, you need to work on that relationship. That's what that's telling you. It doesn't mean take them out. It just means work on your relationship, and maybe they're not part of your core group, right? So going back to the main page there, or going back to our contacts. Once we get to the point where we have our guys selected, we have our database up to date, contacts are filled out, all the information is accurate, and I have my smart plans. I'm just going to go here, add to smart plan, and I'm just going to select the smart plans I want them on. Now for Touch 33, you got to remember, we had quarterly phone calls, right? We call them once a quarter. There's a quarterly call plan. All you got to do is select it and add the people to it. And once a quarter, you'll get reminded to call them. You don't even have to think about it. Your command system is just going to tell you, or your database is just going to tell you, as long as you're using it. You have to log in for this to be effective. So I can hit select, and they're all going to get, it's going to get added to their account that I need to call them. And my system's going to remind me. So if I hit select, this screen is going to pop up. Start now, start all on the following date, or I can stagger them. This is important. You don't want to have them all on the exact same date, or else on, the 2nd of September every year, I'm going to log in and have like 100 phone calls that my system's telling me to make. And I'm going to close my laptop because they're going to be like, absolutely not. I don't want to make 100 calls today. So what you want to do is stagger them, and see how it says maximum contacts per day. I can just select, I don't want to make more than 4 calls a day on any given day. So it'll stagger them in 4s. But what happens then is when I log in on September 2nd, 4 names will show up, and I make those 4 phone calls. And then September 3rd, 4 more show up, and September 4th, 4 more show up. And then that's how my database becomes manageable, because it's not everything all at once, which is when we're not systematic, that's what happens. All of a sudden, it's like nothing. It's that gradual suddenly, right? Don't have to do anything, don't have to do anything, don't have to do anything. Or should I have to do all of this stuff? We don't want to ever be in that pressure cooker. We want to make sure that we have time to do it efficiently. And so it's not stressful or causing us any anxiety or overwhelming us to the point that we just don't do it. That's a mistake a lot of agents make. So that's why we use these systems. So I'm going to hit confirm. And then all of these guys are going to get added to my quarterly call starting today. And it's going to be 4 people a day. My system's going to tell me to call. That's very manageable. I can do that. I'll call them, no problem. And then it's just going to say confirm. And now they're on that quarterly plan. So now my system, as of probably tomorrow, I believe those tasks will show up and the first 4 people will populate. Okay. So that's smart plan number 1. That's my calls. That's my 4 calls for the year. My January, my June, my September, October, and then my Christmas call. That's what I'm going to hit with those quarterly calls, right? Now, if the quarterly calls start and they're not in the time frame that you want to make them, you can just wait, right? You can wait until December and then start making those calls, even if the systems tells you to start in November. Or you can start in November, that's up to you. But the point is, make the calls. Then we're going to go back again and we're going to select, add to smart plan. You have to do them one at a time. That's the only part that's slightly tedious, but there's different added things we can put them on. So for example, if I know that my guys, a lot of my guys have bought or sold a home with me and they're past clients, and I know their anniversary date, I could set them up on the home anniversary plan. So all I'm going to do is select this plan, and it's going to show me that I can interact with my contacts. So I would either send them a gift or a card, and then I could make a phone call to say, hey, happy home anniversary. You don't even have to make the phone call. You could just send the gift or the card, right? But you want to set them up on that. You want to set them up on the birthday plan so that you say, hey, happy birthday. It reminds you to post on their social media. It reminds you to send a card, and it reminds you to text or call them. Those are all added thoughtful touches. So you can set them up on those plans, and then the monthly neighborhood plan. Between all of those, they're going to get those emails and stuff from you consistently. So that's where we utilize the smart plans to properly manage our database. And then the next thing that we also talked about was sending out a newsletter or something of that nature. You can do that in command designs. So you're just going to, first of all, come to, actually, you can do it in campaigns, but you have to build the design first. So see this little microphone on the left? That's our campaigns. We can create email campaigns through this system. So if I click on this, and I take a look, I can see emails up here at the top. This is also where we can do our Facebook posts and things like that, but that's a whole other class. But I can go to emails and then I can select create a campaign. So if I want to create a monthly newsletter, I can send it through command, or I can sync MailChimp to command and I can send it through MailChimp. It's up to you how you do it. MailChimp allows you to send it to more people at one time, which is kind of nice. And it has a better back end for tracking how many people opened it, how many times they looked at it, things like that. This is all command will show you. It got sent to 4 people, 3 people opened it, and 1 person clicked on something in the email, right? MailChimp will tell you your open ratios, your percentages, all that sort of stuff. You can see who opened it, which people, which clients looked at it, what they clicked on. So my preference personally is to sync MailChimp to your command and do it through MailChimp. But you can do it directly through command as well, which is what I'm going to show you right now. So if I go to create campaign, I can say email, right? And then I'm going to say, what am I doing here? Am I doing advertise a listing, brand awareness, attracts talent? I'm doing brand awareness. That's really why I'm sending these emails. I want people to see my brand. I want them to know about me. Or I'm doing other if it's a much more generic kind of newsletter that you want to do. But let's select brand awareness. And I'm going to say I'm using my command email, although you could choose MailChimp. This is where that syncing comes in. But like I said, that's a whole other class. Oops, sorry. Let's do that again real quick. Oh, I have to name it. So let's say test. Okay. And then I'm just going to hit create campaign. Okay. So make sure you select the right place, command or MailChimp, and then create campaign. So now it's going to tell me who do I want, what email do I want it to come from, what account, who do I want to send it to? So now I can create a list of people. And this is where we talked about tags, right? So let's say I want to send it to PC coaching. I can go here. I can search by, sorry, I can go here and search by tags, and I can go to all of my coaching people. I just scroll through my tags. I want PC coaching, PSN coaching. Everyone in those tags, now they all show up here, and I just click select all. 160 people, right? I could just send it to them automatically. I don't have to go through and add everybody. That's why we tag. Okay, it's one of the reasons why we tag. And now I'm going to hit confirm. I'm not going to send this, don't worry, guys, but that's how you would create a list. Now, here's where I want it to send from, PSN coaching, and that's my reply to email address. So when they reply to that email, if they're going to, I'm going to get it to this account. If you want to change it, you just hit edit right here. It's very simple. If you want to change this, you just hit edit. Everything's editable. Then I'm going to put in the subject. Well, what is my subject? It might be something specific if I'm sending a purposeful email, or it might just be, you know, it's not January, September update, right? It could be, you know, Silvernagle monthly newsletter. It could be Michelle King's, I was trying to think of a good alliteration there, but my mind went blank. Michelle King's Chronicles, right? Could be anything, could be whatever you want it to be, but have it be something that says your name in it. So when they see it in their inbox, they see Michelle, they see Bella, they see Tim, right? They know that it's you that's sending it, because that's the point of this email specifically. It's just to be in their inbox so they see your name, top of mind marketing, right? Like I said, the content is not actually as important. So let's say we enter the subject, Michelle, oh gosh, King's. I'm going to spell this wrong, but I know I'm spelling it wrong. I'm just playing with it. Chronicles. Oh, it fixed it for me. It wouldn't even let me do it. Anyway, let's say that's what we called it. Now I'm going to say select design. So I can go to any templates I've already created if you want to create your own, or I can go to the Keller Williams templates. So now there's newsletter templates, Or if you scroll down, there's different topics. These are already filled out. See, sell ready, refinancing, protect your credit, financial health, healthy home, low budget, mortgage modification. There's 73 of them. So, there's only 12 months. You could use a couple of years here before you have to create anything yourself if you wanted to. Chill your bills, open house, personalize if you're hosting an open house and you want to send that out to people, luxury open house marketing. It's all here, right? Don't recreate the wheel, but let's just say we're going to send this protect your credit email. Generic. This is what it looks like. Your photo is going to show up here on the Keller Williams Realty Center's logo. Then you're going to have this content. Monitor your score, read your reports, and then this is going to be your photo, your contact information, the link to your app. If you want to edit this, you can easily delete it. Just click on it and put that garbage. The reason I deleted that is because the Canada Consumer app isn't out yet, so we don't want to send that at this particular moment. And then again, at the bottom, the Market Center logo and your email. And then when we're done, up at the top, like I don't even have to edit this. You could read the content, change it around a bit, make it more Canadian or more specific to the point you want to make. Absolutely. And then you're just going to hit save and exit. That's it. Then I'm going to hit send or schedule. So if I know that I need to send 12 of these in a month, in a year, and I know that in December, I'm pretty quiet. Could I make 12 of these? That took me 4 minutes to do. So could I pick 12 templates and then just schedule them for the dates I have on my Touch 33, and then they'll just go out on those dates, right? So think in advance. So if I hit schedule email campaign up from 2 hours to now to a year from now, that's how long. So let's say I know that if I go back to my Touch 33, my next newsletter, let's see, when was it? September 28th. Let me go back to command. I'm going to edit this and I'm going to send it out on September 28th. Okay. Change. And I can select the time. I want it to go out at, when's a good time? When people are on lunch, when people are, maybe it's 7:30 when they first wake up, they see it and while they're having their morning coffee. Let's do 7:30 a.m. And then I'm going to hit apply. Sorry guys, all my pop-ups are clicking in at once. Apply date and time, and I'm going to hit schedule. Okay. Now I'm going to have to come in and delete that, or else you guys are all going to get a really weird email from me on September 28th. But you could do this 12 times over the course of December, and your entire newsletters for the year would be built, and they would just send. So this is what we talk about, making things automated. It makes our lives easier, and I never have to think about that again. Right? That's the beauty of it. So that's how you use command to send out the newsletters or the emails if you would like to do it that way. Or like I said, you can pay companies that will do this for you, and they use the content, they fill it out, they mail it to the people, they get it as a hard mail. So you're getting a hard mail touch as well, which is a nice addition. But there is a budget associated with that. So depending on where you are in your career, what your budget looks like, you're going to make the appropriate choice for what makes sense for you. But it is honestly, I know command, I'm comfortable with it. It might take you a little longer at the beginning to kind of figure out where I clicked and what I did. But at the end of the day, even if it takes you half an hour and you spread it out over December to set it up for the rest of the year, it's still not that many hours. It's 6 hours of your time to get that done over the course of a month. You can time block that pretty easily, right? So that's what I want you guys to be thinking about when we're talking about your database management. What's my strategic approach to connecting with my database, my core people throughout the year, 36 times, so that I can get referrals and I make sure that they hire me when they're thinking about making a move, because that's how you make your database work for you. And then all you have to remember is every time you get a new client, you add them into your database, you put them under the right tags, and then automatically this stuff will apply, right? So you can set it up. There's something in command called a trigger. When you're adding someone to a certain system, there's a trigger option. So it'll say, when I, add this contact to my monthly neighborhood nurture plan, I also want them to get added to the quarterly calls, the birthday smart plan, and whatever else you want. And it will automatically do them all for you. right? Now, this is admin, and I get that it's not all of our strong suits. And ideally, when you get to a higher level of production, we hire someone to do all of this for us. So we don't have to do any of it. But at the beginning, guys, we have to do this. And if you want to hit your goals and you want to get to production faster, the people who know you, like you, and trust you are the ones who are going to get you there the fastest. So make sure that you're tapping into them as equally as you are into your lead generation. Right? For some of you, this is going to be easier. You're going to like it more than door knocking or cold calling or Facebook ads, because it's more passive, it's more natural, right? And for some of you, you're not going to want to contact the people you know, it's uncomfortable. So you just have to figure out how to do it in a way that works for you. And like I always say, keep it authentic, right? Write your emails in your language, the way you speak, the way you think, because you want to connect with people and you don't want to kind of present one image and then they meet you, or they hire you and it's a different relationship, because that's going to throw them off as well, right? So always be yourself. It's also what's going to make you stand out from everybody else. All right. So that's kind of the concept behind managing your database. I know that's a lot to take in, but that's why we have all these tools here for you. That's why the Touch 33, 36 system is in resources. That's why we teach classes on it. This class has been recorded, so I will upload it to our YouTube channel later today, so you guys can watch this back if you would like to. I'm just going to check the chat so that I see if there's any other questions. And while I'm doing that, is there anyone else that has any questions before we finish today? Tony did ask which companies would you recommend for the hard mail touches. I know, thank you, Michelle, for answering that, the kits pack. I don't use one personally, so I don't know who to recommend. I know there's a company called Realty Watch that a lot of agents use. I think it's Realty Watch. And there's another one. Oh shoot, I can't even remember. I'll have to look that up and get back to you, Tony, to be honest. I used to know one or two names, but I know, Michelle, you use Kids Pack. They're reasonable. Their pricing is good. And you really like the content that they put into their packages. But yeah, even if you just kind of look online, Tony, there's tons of them. So just kind of filter through and see what they offer and what their costs are. Okay. Any other questions, guys? No, everybody's good. All right. Well, what Canadian content? Yes, Michelle, that's a great point. Canadian content. Hire Canadian companies, please, or Canadian content companies that use Canadian content. Otherwise, it's useless, right? You don't want to spend money on it for no reason. So if you are going to pay for it, make sure it's strategic and make sure you're only sending it to the people that you have those relationships with, right? Don't just send it to everybody in your database. It doesn't make sense. You're going to be paying for it and you're not going to have the right relationship with a lot of those people to get results from it. So make sure you're specific about who receives it. But yes, Michelle, thank you. That's a great point. Canadian content, please. All right, guys. Well, it is 3:00. So I hope that was helpful to everybody. Have a great day. I think you guys will see Stevie in the morning. And this will get posted. This video for the class will get posted later today. So you'll be able to watch all of this back and figure out kind of how to do this. But please start thinking strategically about how to connect with your database, because that's a huge part of our business. It's not something we talk about quite as much as lead gen, but it's equally as important, right? All right, bye guys. We'll talk to everybody later.